Hey, what's up you guys? It's Travis. Before I begin this video, I have a question for you guys. If the person that you're with cheats on you, but they come and confess and apologize, do you A, forgive them, or B, leave them? Based on previous experience, I've learned that once a cheater, always a cheater. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about this. So leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll look forward to seeing those when this video is posted. One thing that inspired me to make this video is I get a lot of messages from you guys asking me for dating advice. And this is probably because I wrote the book 10 Steps to Stop Being a Crazy Girl, which is still not published, but for those of you guys who don't know, it's a memoir about some of my dating experiences where I was by all means a crazy girl. So basically, the story that I'm going to be telling you guys today is a chapter from that book that kind of covers the ground of no excuses. The whole concept behind the idea of no excuses is basically summed up in one sentence. If someone wants to call you, be with you, text you, or do anything with you, they will find a way to make it happen, period. Instead of getting all preachy with you guys, I decided I was going to share a story of what happened to me when I started making excuses for the guy that I was dating, which is why today I'm going to be telling you guys the story about the time I caught my boyfriend cheating on me. This story takes place when I was 20 years old. I was living in Denver. My friend, Amy, she introduced me to her friend, Nick, who was this really nice guy that pursued me hard. He would not take no for an answer. I eventually caved, and so finally, I decided to give him a chance and we became boyfriends. He was a promoter in Denver, so he was this super social guy. He was always the life of the party, and one of the things that attracted me to him most was that he made me feel like I was the most important person in the room at all times. He was proud to call me his boyfriend, and that felt really good. Anyway, a couple months into the relationship, Nick gets this phone call from these producers of this reality show. And the producers were like, hey, we're moving our next season of the show to Denver. They wanted him to show the cast around the nightlife of Denver. Nick, of course, was really excited about this. I, on the other hand, was a little bit apprehensive. Reality shows aren't known for bringing out the best sides in people, in case you haven't watched any reality show in the history of ever. But being the supportive boyfriend that I was happy for Nick, so I gave him all my support. A couple of weeks later, the night came when Nick was supposed to go meet the cast and take them out in the town. So I took a shower, I cleaned my cookies, I put on my nicest outfit, and I was ready to hit the town. But then when Nick came out of the bathroom, he was like, listen babe, I'm sorry, I don't think you should come this time. I just don't think it'll be very professional if I bring you along with me. Let's forget the fact that a club promoter is probably the least professional job in the history of jobs. But again, I was still trying to be the understanding boyfriend, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll stay home. I mean, I ironed my shirt and shit, but okay, if you want to go, you go do your thing. The next morning, I asked Nick how the night went. He just kind of replies with, it was fine. The thing you need to know about Nick is that this is one of those people that makes everything the most exciting thing ever. He could take a shit and write a trilogy about it, so I knew damn well that his night was more than just fine. Finally, he was like, I want to tell you how the night went, but I can't because I signed a confidentiality agreement. I can't really talk about anything that happens in the show, so I'm sorry. That seemed like a perfectly legitimate excuse, so I let it go and I just kept doing my thing. Well, the producers of this reality show liked Nick so much that they decided to ask him to come back to host the cast for the rest of the season. And that would have been all well and fine if Nick didn't start becoming more distant from me as the season progressed. Suddenly, all that attention he was giving to me in the beginning to make me fall for him was slowly fading away. Sometimes he would just stop texting me mid-conversation, or he'd forget to call me when he said he would. But no matter what happened, Nick always seemed to have an excuse. On top of that, every time I'd bring it up to him, he'd find a way to turn the conversation around to make it look like I was crazy. Fast forward to a few months later. The reality show had finally wrapped and the season was about to air. So every week my friends and I would meet up at one of their houses and watch the show, where I finally got to meet all these strangers that were occupying so much of my boyfriend's time. As with many reality shows, there was your typical cast of characters, one of which included a gay castmate. Nick didn't say anything about a gay character being on the show. That little thing stood out in my mind, but I just slipped it aside along with the rest of my common sense and intuition. So yeah, every week my friends and I would get together to watch the show, and we watched the entire season where we didn't see Nick on it one time until the season finale. I still remember the night like it was yesterday. I was sitting there with this big bowl of popcorn wedged between my legs. I had hot sauce in my bag, swag, my long blonde hair blowing in the wind, this air going through it. We were ready for that season finale. So there my friends and I were watching the episode like any other episode, and as I was about to shovel the next piece of popcorn into my mouth, I stopped, because there he was. The cast was out at some bar in Denver, and Nick was there with them. every single one of my friends' faces just turned at me, and I could feel their eyes piercing into the core of my soul. Still don't know why that girl wore a hospital gown to the viewing party, to be honest. For a second, while we're watching, everything's fine, but then it happens. Nick and the gay castmate start making out in the middle of the bar, and suddenly that piece of popcorn that I was holding up oh so close to my mouth just slips out of my hands and falls slowly to the floor. Time slowed down as my friend's eyes followed the popcorn as it slowly fell to the floor. Like thunder, that popcorn crashed several times before it finally rolled to a stop. Boom, boom, boom. Finally, that piece of popcorn fell to a stop, and for a moment, all was quiet. All my friends jumped out of their chairs and ran for that TV like a herd of elephants. Their footsteps hitting the ground as they shook the earth, running to turn off the TV. But before they could get there, I was like, don't touch it. I wanted to watch what happened next. I had to. For so many months, I had driven myself crazy thinking that I was paranoid, and finally, the truth was sitting there right in front of my face. At that point, another friend of mine, Cassie, decides to play the hero and step in front of the TV, where she's like, "It was just a kiss, Trav. It was just a kiss." As much as I appreciated Cassie's efforts, it wasn't a second later before we heard Nick's voice over hers say, "Do you have a condom?" Sweet little Cassie, she didn't even turn back. She just sat there and closed her eyes as tight as she could, as if she was trying to teleport to any other place in the world other than where she was right then. The rest of us, on the other hand, just kind of leaned past Cassie to look back at the TV, where I then got to see my boyfriend Nick having sex with a castmate at the castmate's house. Yeah, it was a bad night. Obviously, we broke up that night, and I haven't really spoken to him since then. It's easy for me to laugh at this now because it's been so many years, but at the time, I was really devastated by this. I don't condone revenge, and I don't condone violence, and since this all happened, I've forgiven Nick, but I did happen to find Nick's current address on Google Maps, where it's just gonna be right over here. Oh look, this is the street view of his house, and wow, that's kind of crazy. It's a nice little front door, and that window looks like a pretty good point of entry in case someone was going to break in there. But we're not going to do that because we are the bigger person. But the address will be posted in the description section below, so just go say hi to Nick and tell him I miss him. If there's one thing that I want you guys to take away from this, it's the no excuses rule. This is the perfect example of letting someone take advantage of you by giving excuses as to why they're not treating you the same way they used to. Obviously, it's not always going to be cheating, but if someone's not giving you the same attention that they used to, it's important for you to realize that something else has that attention, and you're no longer their #1 priority. That's it for my story time, you guys. If you guys want to see more from my book, leave a comment below and say, "I am not a crazy girl." Because you're not, girl. We believe you, alright? You're my titty. There's that address again, in case you missed it. Go find him. And that's all I have for right now. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. The reality show started filming in Denver. Finally, the night came when was... I said his name.
Want to try the remnants of my toothpaste?
I don't know about that one. Oh, it's still there? Mm-hmm. I already tried it. We're disgusting.